Alright, hello everybody, it's August 23rd, 2022. Got a wild week of crypto news as usual, especially in the NFT arena, which is, if you're YouTube kind of looking at this, you're in luck because you'll see that part. But in general, we're going to cover the macro news, why that's shifting market direction. Then we're going to cover kind of NFT news, then a crypto market overview. And then, of course, we'll go into very specific coin projects and kind of where we think prices are going for specific projects and actionable things. Now, again, we're still doing this like YouTube section than the actual, I guess, actionable stuff for subscribers. So we'll just keep experimenting with this and see how it goes. Also, the main thing in the macro right now is people thought, inflation's coming down. Maybe the Fed is going to do a 50 basis point increase instead of 75, and then things came up. But the Fed has not really budged on their stance. They commented again this week, we're just going to keep increasing the rate. But I think consensus is about 75 basis point for the next time, then 25, then 25. But the market was thinking it was going to be 50 in the last couple of weeks, and now it's kind of correcting now. Otherwise, the rest of the world is seemingly on fire. We have Europe having kind of an energy crisis. Electricity prices are surging. Part of that, of course, has to do with the heat, and the other part of that is kind of energy independence with a lot of the world events going on over there. We are also in a housing recession in America. We have kind of our sales of existing homes down by 20%, which is quite a big steep drop, and then the median is actually still up. So in terms of like inflation, prices are still going up, but you'll probably see that number go down. Remember, when you have a liquidity issue, like there's very little inventory, prices actually start moving very quickly, depending on how, I guess, urgent the buyers and sellers are, right? And you're going to see that in the NFT market when we go there next. China is also having some sort of real estate crisis as well. They're slashing their 5-year mortgage rate. They're finding like the houses they're building are probably not going to make money. So this is like a new crisis starting where we might see the real estate market crash pretty quickly in China. People will lower their prices rapidly so they can get ahead of the curve because there is a liquidity crisis. There's no one buying. But that, again, is still developing. I just wanted to point it out as we keep going. And you can see markets this week, starting exactly from last week, having a pretty bad reversal, coming back to that previous week's gains, right? And we had such a crazy week of gains. Markets were so excited. Things have turned around. So I think this is like kind of healthy. Markets are repricing to what it should be, right? Some uncertainty versus pricing in the certainty of like the rate hikes and inflation going down and all that stuff, right? And then in crypto news, HODL, the Singaporean exchange, earlier this month was freezing withdrawals, and people are like, what the heck's going on over there? It turns out they have a $193 million shortfall. I believe a lot of that was due to Luna. They were kind of in the anchor pool, and they lost their money there. Big news also is the CME is launching Ether options, coincidentally right before the merge, like a week before or a few days before the merge is actually happening. So that's actually a great time for them because they're going to have a bunch of volume, probably make a lot of money. And then there's probably going to be like an asymmetrical volume thing after the merge where people probably won't be as trigger happy buying options there. We also have FTX. Even though HODL's doing poorly, FTX grew a crazy 10x during the crypto craze. Apparently the financials were leaked and analyzed by a lot of people, and they again are raising another round as well, right? So they're just like firing on all cylinders and spending like crazy. They're going to rule the world one day probably. And then on another note, FDIC orders a couple of other exchanges. So FTX US is one of them, and 4 others, saying that you gotta stop saying that you're FDIC insured, because you're saying you're, like, in actuality the employees' bank accounts are insured apparently, and the crypto accounts are not part of that. But it just sounds like the customers' money market funds, USD, is insured, but it's not, right? So this is just news that came up as well. Tether also released its audit report saying that a lot of their kind of holdings are real. They are asset backed, maybe not as liquid as they want to be, but because Tether has like a 7-day redemption, they should be okay. And for newer people into crypto, Tether is USDT. It's like the stable coin that's been around probably the longest and probably the most volume as well. UK, speaking of stablecoins, is coming with some stablecoin regulation, and you can bet that once somebody puts their stamp out there on stablecoin regulation, that a lot of other governments will follow, and a lot of banks, traditional finance people, will probably start allowing stablecoin usage once those rules are in place. So most likely, it's like you have to make sure there's a redemption process. You make sure it's completely asset backed. A lot of things to make sure stablecoins don't bomb like Terra did. And a lot of the regulation, by the way, is because of the Terra collapse. A lot of actions are needed right now to make sure it doesn't happen again, right? We also have Canada making, speaking of regulatory news, again, these are all great transitions, right? I keep forgetting to do them right before I click the tab. Speaking of Canada, or regulatory news, Canada is making a cap on some of the lesser known, are they securities or not coins? And basically Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash, I don't know how Bitcoin Cash is in there. They're saying you can buy an unlimited amount. You can, this is not a regulated thing, or it's not a security, so you can buy as much as you want. But everything else is capped at 30K, which means that if you're only making like 30K a year, this is great. You can buy as much as you want. But if you are making millions a year, you're capped at 30K. You might be wondering why it's not percent of net worth. So this is still, I believe, has it passed yet? I don't know when this goes into effect. I should have read about that. We also have, in the NFT news, Nike topping the list with $185 million of actual revenue. And that's from $1.3 billion in transaction volume on the secondary market. So I believe a lot of the latest mints have happened. So they're minting hoodies and shoes and clothing, and you have to pay a couple $100s each time. So Nike is turning NFTs into a real business, although in my opinion it's still speculators. Obviously Tiffany also had their sale for the CryptoPunks jewelry, and that was $12 million right off of the bat, just like you snap your fingers and it's there. I actually didn't know Dolce & Gabbana was making so much money, but I did know Gucci is partnering with a ton of these NFT platforms, so I guess they're getting their cut, 11 million. It's not bad, right? So otherwise, lots of stuff happening from traditional brands kind of getting into the NFT space. Unfortunately, most of that is still kind of like speculators, but Nike is clearly the front runner because they were the first ones there when they acquired Artifact, that collection. We also have a crazy thing happening with Ben DAO. So think of it like if you have an NFT and you want to kind of buy another NFT, or you don't want to sell your NFT because you have the coins, right? So what you can do is you can deposit your NFT, say that it's worth $10,000, and you can actually borrow $4,000 back. You can borrow 40% of the NFT back, and as long as they keep your NFT, right? Now, what is going on now is the NFT market is falling very hard. We talked about this last week. All the floor prices are dropping like crazy. So what happens if the market drops 60%? Then you are at risk that you have loaned out more Ethereum than you can actually get, right? So this is what's going on at Ben DAO. People have deposited a bunch of NFTs. They've taken Ethereum from others as just borrowing it. And then right now, the NFTs have dropped like crazy. And because there's some pretty good deals as a result of this, right? People are auctioning for this mutant ape. Actually, mutant apes are still kind of close to their OpenSea price, but you can see some Azukis and clones. They're going pretty cheap. And what is happening is people can arbitrage. They can actually place a bid here and then sell it right away on OpenSea. So what happens is people are going to sell a lot of stuff on OpenSea just so they can come back to Ben DAO to pick up some new ones, right? And a lot of this is because they don't care about the fungibility. They don't care if it's a unique attributes. They just are trying to make a profit. And the volume in Ben DAO is a little bit at risk. Oh, this is kind of like what you can do, and then you can buy them too. If you can put a down payment of 60% and buy the blue chip, and then kind of owe the money, and it could get liquidated as well. So this is really crazy that $55 million worth of NFTs are on the line. And just to kind of go through here, there's a liquidation crisis because a lot of these will fall below the health rating. They're going to fall below the 40% kind of limit that this thing has set. And then a lot of things are under 1.2 already. So there's an anticipation that like apes are going to dump at some point. And I believe there's an Ethereum treasury as well that's very low. So right now this tweet here is saying there's a bank run happening, $25,000 left the wallet. It had 30 million. Well, this is not that much, I guess. So there's still 14.5 thousand Ethereum still owed to the lenders. So just be careful of like a big NFT kind of cleansing as a result of this. And remember what I said in the beginning of the show. If you have illiquid assets, if there's a flood of sellers, there's going to be a very steep price drop because there's not enough spaces in between in the order book to kind of price in, or like kind of like ease the market price lower, I guess is what I'm trying to say. People will just say like, oh, I'm offering for 10 Ethereum. Somebody's going to come in and say, I'll just do it for 9.9. Someone comes in with 9.8, and it only takes like 10 of those to drop down more than 10%, right? And it could go faster than that because they want to front run the other front runners. So anyways, let's move into like more positive NFT news. One of them is SudoSwap, and this is actually really cool that in the first month of its launch, I believe it already has like 12% of what OpenSea does. And SudoSwap is kind of like Uniswap, where it's like an automated market maker. You deposit your NFTs into a pool, and then the pool doesn't care about what attributes you have. And if you do, you can create another pool. But basically, you can like bid for these NFTs, or you can have like a liquid swap to the price of that pool. And basically, it's like Uniswap, where you just go in, you swap NFTs in, you swap NFTs out, you create your own pools, just like you create pools on Uniswap, right? So basically, it's making NFTs much more liquid, and it's also probably contributing to some of the pricing factors because people are probably willing to sell it for lower because it's the floor. You know, you don't want to sell your really high value NFTs here, most likely, right? Because this only cares about the floor price. So basically, that's how SudoSwap works. You swap, your Ethereum with NFTs, and they're in pools. And the pools, of course, there's in Uniswap, you have one pool for one coin. In this one, there's like multiple pools for different things. So if I look at clones, for example, you should see multiple. I guess I have to connect my wallet, but you'll see multiple pools of clones here that you can trade between. So this is a really cool development. We'll talk more about it in the newsletter. Another crazy thing that's happening this week is penguins. So Pudgy Penguins, something I brought up as like the example of NFTs. They went up 400% this week, and it's not really sure why. Even like the rarest penguin was just bought for 630 grand, and you could see the hold on a sec. You can see that they're number 2, I guess, today due to this ABC. I'm actually really impressed with how much Solana stuff is coming up here, which is actually in the top. Not that much Solana stuff still, but you see like Bored Ape Yacht Club is actually falling below 70 for the first time, I think, in quite some time. So who knows how crazy the Ben DAO situation is going to be, but just looking at this chart here, it's not a good trend to be this direction, right? I think it hasn't been below 70. Has it been below 70 ever? I don't think so. So this is like a first. Right here was 82, right? This is crazy stuff, everyone. Crazy stuff. All right, moving forward. One thing that is coming up is a concept called real yield. We'll talk about this in the newsletter as well. And real yield is basically that you earn actual commission off of the activity on the product. So for example, if OpenSea gave a cut of their revenues to the users, or if you like stake something, that's one example. Right beforehand, before all this real yield stuff happened, it was like kind of fake yield because they minted coins, rewarding people with the inflation of the coin, right? If they participated in the network, that actually applies to airdrops as well. But basically, now you're seeing things like GMX or DYDX. They actually reward their users with the money they're making off the trades. So it's actually real. It's not inflation. Okay. So now Ribbon Finance is offering theirs with Ribbon Earn. That's like a options kind of version. And then just some quick fundraising news. Shima Capital raised $200 million fund, and it's a friends of ours. And then Coin Fund raised $300 million. So they're still, even with this crazy bear market, actually this is a recovery now, there's still hope for a lot of projects because there's a lot of money on the sidelines waiting to invest if you want to create a startup in the Web3 space. Now, finally, there's a lot of stuff I got to cover, but for the YouTube section, this is the end of the line. Sorry, but basically this week was pretty brutal. You saw the stock markets were down this week. Crypto markets reflect the same thing. Actually, today Ethereum is up a lot, which is kind of going against the traditional market, which is very interesting. So stock market and crypto markets starting to decouple quite a little bit. A lot of this was also fears that Jump Crypto, which has like, I guess, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Ethereum, started selling some this week. So there was a lot of panic this week in Ethereum. You can see why that's down more. And then like Solana is getting creamed this week as well. Not sure, no indication why. And then I just want to point out one more thing. So Atom, like we said, we've been saying Atom is probably going to outperform Ethereum going forward. It's actually up 6%, while Ethereum is down 13% this week. That is actually pretty interesting. A lot of Cosmos stuff is coming. Like we saw, like Kujira, for example, was up a crazy amount, up 100% still from when we mentioned it as our coin of the week, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's up 100%, and then Cosmos is only up 6%, but it's actually still performing well. Now, one more thing I want to point out is EOS. So EOS is coming out with an EVM, and the EVM will allow you to use MetaMask and interact with their farms. But what I've seen in the past is this is usually a temporary kind of pump, because once people start buying EOS and they start using their farms, the farms usually don't work out so well, and then people just sell off their coins like EOS and then go back into the Ethereum ecosystem. But I think, in general, these kind of situations, having an EVM is bullish for a coin. It automatically shoots you up from the valuation perspective. But this is, if I were to have like a short of the week, probably would be EOS. It's up way so much more than the rest of the market. So is CHZ. I think they had a partnership. But EOS, even on my short video, I just filmed, by the way, there's a short video coming out. That'll be in the training sections, in the advanced sections. You can learn how to short, hedge, leverage, all that stuff. But when I was filming it, it was even higher. So making that video has given money. Otherwise, that's it for overall crypto news. We're gonna cover a couple things happening with Kujira, with the Fei protocol. There's a lot of crazy stuff in the news perspective, and there's some action items that I think are interesting this week as well. But for those that want to subscribe, this is rocketfuelcrypto.com. Otherwise, have a good week for the YouTube people. For the rest of you, stay put for another half.